Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. Hope it's a morning for someone. Welcome to Marriage and Relationship Conversation. This is Adrian, and I'm joined by Mwango.
Yes, good evening, everyone, and just good day to some people. Maybe it's not morning or an evening, so we are saying good day to you. It's good that you can join us, and for those that are already here, thank you for joining, and we hope some more people will be joining us. Tell us how your week has been. We hope you have had a good day, and that you've been winning the battles. We are constantly in a battlefield. My mentor, Mami Ngambi, keeps saying that marriage is a spiritual ministry. So some of the battles that we fight in our marriages, we don't even know where they come from. You just find from a spoon you have reached even everywhere. But thanks be to God who has given us and equipped us to be overcomers in all that we do. So thank you for joining us, Lady Chanda. Well done. Thank you. We hope you have had a good day and that your business is doing well. We are loving those cakes that come up. Thank you, Harriet, for joining us. Good to see you. Thank you, everyone who is joining.
Awesome. Yeah, so we can see, I think we still do have some more people joining us. So we would really appreciate if you could just drop us a message letting us know where you're joining us from or where you tuning in from, so we can just acknowledge you and just celebrate the fact that you've taken some time to be with us.
Yes.
We always look forward to this day, and particularly this time when we get the opportunity to connect with you and just to find out how you're getting on and how everything is going on your side. So once again, thank you so much for joining. Just drop us a message letting us know where you're tuning in from, where you are joining us from, so we can celebrate you. Otherwise, we've had a great day ourselves.
Yes.
It's been a really beautiful day today.
Yes.
It's been really nice and sunny.
Mhm.
We are enjoying, I think today was about 21 degrees. Which is, it's not a record, but it's fairly good, I think, for us.
Yes,
And
true.
being a bank holiday weekend, so I'm sure everyone is looking forward to taking a well-deserved break.
That's in the UK though, yeah.
Yeah.
Other places they are kind of like it's just a short
weekend.
It's
business as usual.
Business as usual, yeah. You know, one of the things that the weathers remind me of is the seasons of our marriages as well. The seasons of our marriage is just like the weather. 2 weeks backwards, a few days backwards, we were constantly having the rains and everyone is like, oh my God, it's dripping. And, you know, we want to go do some things, but we are being held back. But again, the weather has changed. So seasons of natural seasons, they kind of remind me of how the seasons of our marriages are. Last week or last year, it could be a tough season. There were storms that were coming, hailstones and everything that you can think about. And then another season comes when it's all flourishing, or everything is blossoming, the weather is good, everything. So let's keep holding on, couples. Let's keep holding on, those that are aspiring to be married. Make sure you listen more and prepare yourself. Just when you prepare a foundation which is solid, you are going to overcome the obstacles that are going to come your way. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Wendy, for joining us. Thank you, Pastor Anthony, for joining us. We've got one conversation starter, and it goes, name a time when you made a mistake and your spouse was full of grace, expressing no criticism. And then again, name a time when the roles were reversed, when you are the one maybe who made a mistake and you received grace, or reverse the roles. So name a time when you made a mistake and your spouse was full of grace, expressing no criticism. This is a good one. This is a nice conversation starter because we are talking, this is in line with the subject that we've had, or the topic that we've been discussing, communication. So we have said that we want to have a communication that is going to come without, when talking, without criticism, and when we are listening, without judging the other person using any filters. And then when we finish communicating, we still have to connect regardless of the differences that we had when we were communicating. So today we want to finish up on the barriers to communication, which is on passive aggression. The other week we talked about passiveness in a relationship. How do you passively communicate with someone? And we looked at how they don't care, they are not bothered. They are kind of like a hedgehog. And then we again are aware that we have to be aware of that style, because if we push that person who is passive, they keep withdrawing and withdrawing. Next time, like the hedgehog has got sparks, they will just come and lash out. And then we came to the aggressive one, the people that shout, those ones that can't hold their fire, that can't hold their tongue, they give it out, So, but it's both the passive and the aggressive doesn't work out in a relationship. It makes someone either to freeze or have a flight or have a fight emotion coming up. And then today we are going to look at passive aggressive communicator. So we are combining the two. And how does this look like? We want to welcome everyone else who is joining us again. Mr. Nyarenda, thank you for joining. So I'm going to hand over to Adrian to talk about the passive aggressive communicator. How does this come out, and how does it affect the way we communicate as a wife and as a husband? And also, how can we overcome those barriers? Thank you.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this conversation this evening, and I was just asking myself, why are we actually talking about the styles of communication? It's just a thought that crossed my mind, and I began to ask myself, what's the point of talking about this? And I realized that, of course, what we have tried to do is to try and describe the different styles of communication that we all every so often find ourselves in. So, like you've talked about someone who is passive. When they are communicating, they are passive. So they don't assert themselves. They don't really demand what they want, or they don't put their needs forward and say, these are my needs, so they need to be met. They're not assertive, so they're just passive. They're laid back. But then you have those that are in your face.
Overbearing.
So yeah, overbearing. So I was saying, what's the whole point? And then I just realized that, you see, if you don't understand, or if you don't look back at yourself and think back and look at how you are communicating with the other person, you don't get to see how you come across.
Yeah.
If you haven't really given it a thought, sometimes, personally, sometimes I would think, well, I think my communication style is okay, or,
yes,
I'm trying to do this and that. And now that we have been talking about this thing, every so often I catch myself trying to go there.
Yes.
You know what I mean when I say trying to go there?
Yes.
And I'm like, no, this is exactly what we were talking about.
Yes.
So I shouldn't be doing. So today we're talking about someone who has a passive aggressiveness. So we've talked about someone who is passive and someone who is aggressive. Now we are talking about a combination of the two. So someone who is passive, aggressive.
Yes.
So just the way it's sounding, passive, aggressive.
Yeah.
So they look like they sit back.
Yeah.
But they are not sitting back. They are aggressive. Now the difference about this person is that this style of communication is where someone is acting appropriately. They seem like they're acting appropriately on the surface, but there is an underlining, I think there is a word that I was trying to pronounce earlier this afternoon, subtlety or subtlety, subtle, in other words. I'm sure if I put it that way, it will be a lot more easier. So there is that underlining, there is and that subtlety is something like some oh God.
Deception.
Yeah, you know, someone who is deceptive. Yeah, I think that's the word. Yes. Now I was trying to use a big word and they just failed. So someone is trying to be deceptive. Someone is trying to be subtle. Someone is trying to be what's the other? Manipulative. That's the other word. So in the communication, they are actually trying to be laid back, but there is some underlying deceptiveness. And the deceptiveness that is there is where they are trying to get their needs, they are trying to get their wants, or they are trying to get their opinion across in a subtle way. You know, they are being hostile, but not quite hostile.
Yes.
If you know what that means. So they are being hostile, but not quite hostile. And the whole point is trying to be very manipulative. And this particular person is trying to be submissive, but not quite submissive. So you can see the challenge that this style of communication poses. Now, there are a few examples of this style of communication. The first one is that someone that's trying to communicate in that way, they are in one way, they are trying to push the blame to the person that they're trying to communicate with. So they've got some needs, they've got some wants, they've got all these, you know, things that they want met, but they are not courageous enough to be aggressive about their needs and say, this is what I need. So I need to get this. They are not aggressive enough, but again, they are not passive enough. They still want this. They are not laid back. They still want this, but they are, you know, they are just there. Now, one of the things that I find about this particular style of communication is that people that normally are in this situation are people that find it really difficult to communicate their needs for a number of reasons. There could be, I can't really put a hand on any particular reason, but it could be a number of reasons. It could be that maybe someone is got, they're a little bit short-tempered and they really don't want to go there, or maybe they are short of words to try and express themselves, and when they try and put something across, the moment that is challenged, then they pull back. So they want to get their needs, but they don't want to be very confrontational. They don't want to be like an aggressive person, being just confrontational and getting what they want, but also they don't want to sit back and just watch. So they come out with things like, you know, they are blaming. They come out with things like being critical. You know, they mask the anger. They could be angry, but they've masked it. They've packaged it nicely. They're not showing it that they're angry, but you can tell by the way they behave, the way they carry themselves, the way they answer when they are asked some questions. One other thing they do is that they are sarcastic in the way that they answer, because there is a problem there, but they are not really bringing it out. So they're trying to be all things to the spouse. They're trying to be good, but also trying to express the anger, trying to show how frustrated they are, how disappointed they are, but they are not courageous enough to bring out their frustration or their anger. So they're trying to mask it. They're trying to put it all together. The other thing we see is that they are this style of communication comes across as dismissive. When you're trying to have a conversation, it's dismissive, and there is a lot of resentfulness when you try and get into this sort of communication. So like I said at the beginning, the whole point of us talking about this, because someone might say, okay, yeah, okay, you've told me about someone who is passive, someone who is aggressive, someone who is passive-aggressive. So what does that got to do with me? Yeah, what's the big deal? The big deal is that when we know how we communicate, we can have that self-awareness. We can be a bit more conscious when we are talking to someone, how we are coming across. So like personally, there's been moments where I am a little bit frustrated about something, and then I say it a certain way, and then I just realize that actually I'm being sarcastic.
Yes. And I like that one. And I think this communication is a big thing. I guess, like Adrian is saying, it's been aware of our styles and how that we need to know the why we should really work hard on knowing the art of communication. It's really, really important, because it actually makes either the marriage connect, the people in the marriage connect or disconnect. Like Adrian is saying, one conversation that we had was where we are trying to come up with something, and then I'm trying to make my point. Then he's going, I wanted to say something. I said, okay, you say it. No, I won't say it because I know you say no. So that was one. And then when I heard that, I'm thinking, okay, there is the judgment already. Then I let it pass. Then again, after a while, he continues, and then he goes, I wanted to say something again, and then he goes, that one, let's stop it, because I know what you want to say. And these are some of the things that we are saying are very, very, very frustrating to the other person as well. As much as I know that he knows that he's already frustrated, but then when he starts also frustrating me, then it means that we are now fighting each other, and we are trying now to not even try to connect. We are trying to disconnect. So I had to say, hang on, please, hang on, hold on a little bit. This conversation is kind of like, first of all, you are judging me by saying, I know you say no. I haven't even said it. And then the next one is, you are judging me to say, you are assuming. When we go back to when we started, we were talking about the barriers to communication, which are still barriers, even the styles of communication. These are barriers. We haven't yet gotten to assertive. So one of the barriers was assuming, and having lived with a person for too long, we stop learning and we stop studying them. So we start assuming and finishing sentences for them and trying to assume that we know what they are going to say at the end of the sentence, or what they are trying to say, or what they are planning to talk about, which is also a barrier, and it's not a healthy way of communicating. So we've got to watch certain things. And then even me, the way I approached it, I didn't become again aggressive, because normally I'm a very, very strong person. I think most of the people that have related with me, you know, I'm a strong character. So I bear more if I'm not careful with my style. I bear more on the aggressive. Probably sometimes I bridge into the passive aggressive. So I've got to be aware of those styles so that I kind of don't find myself in those. But I had to just say, hold on, let's correct this kind of communication, because we are kind of, the way I'm feeling is I am feeling like you have judged me and you are assuming things that I haven't said. And he was so gracious. He said, okay, let's start again. So we had to start all over again. So I'm looking forward to a time that we are going to be talking about the level 1 after next week, because that will be a time that we need to talk about how are we going to connect. Because this passive aggressive as well, the one we are talking about, in this aggressive, passive aggressive communication style, this is where we see a person who has not forgiven the other person. I'll give an example of a passive aggressive behavior, which is a non-verbal, but non-verbal speak louder. Like we have already said, it's nearly 90-something% will just say most of communication is non-verbal. For those of us, maybe before the microwaves came on the scene, we just used to prepare meals. Maybe you prepare a meal for your husband, he's coming late, and maybe you have eaten, and then you just prepare and say he's gonna come and eat. So a person who has got passive aggression, one, caused by lack of forgiveness, because there are certain things that cause people to become a certain way in their communication style. And this person who is passively communicating, they have not forgiven that person. So in trying to revenge, they want to revenge. What they are going to do is, they know that maybe I would know that Adrian loves hot meals. You will enjoy a very hot meal. And I know that he's about to come back from work or wherever he's gone. If I have there's something I'm holding against him, or I want to make a revenge. I want to make a statement in a passive aggressive way. I'm going to prepare that meal and put it. I won't even bother. Probably when he even comes, I'm just going to take that plate and give it to him. If he's even lucky, because sometimes I know and I've heard, and these have happened before, where you just open the door, passive aggressive, you open, you turn, you go back. There is nothing like, welcome back home. How are you? Or, kisses and everything. You just open, you turn back. And when somebody asks, where is the food? In the kitchen. And you go, maybe you go, if you're upstairs to sleep or in the bedroom, wherever you are, you go and sleep. You don't care if they are going to eat a cold meal. That is passive aggressive. You are making a very big statement, because a person who is a passive aggressive communicator, they want to express, they don't know how to healthily express their feelings and their emotions. So they kind of use certain behaviors to communicate, which are very, very damaging to the communication that should be connecting the couples together. So this is one of the ways. The other way that a person who is aggressive in their communication can communicate is, maybe Adrian would ask me to do something for him. And again, it's hinging on the hurt. Like we started, if someone is hurt or they are angry, if Adrian asks me to do something, maybe for his business, and there's a deadline that should be done, and he knows maybe in the past when everything was rosy and everything was going okay, like we were saying, it was summertime, the weather is out, we are enjoying everything, nothing is dripping, no rain, no storms and hails and nothing. We are in that moment where we are feeling just the heat and everything. I've done it. If he says it, I'm like, oh, sweetheart, can you just make sure that you do that later for me? I'm coming to post it because and everything. Oh, yeah, I'll do it, and I do it. But when you are getting into that passive aggressive communication style, when you've got a revenge, when you've got a hurt underneath, which we are holding on to, what that style will do is to make another statement is, I'll know that if I don't do it at a certain time, it will put Adrian in trouble. So what I'm going to do is, probably I won't even say no. I'll pretend like I'm going to do it, and I'll procrastinate. I won't do it. I'll just keep it. I won't do it. I'll just keep it. And when he knows, because he trusts I've always done it. And if he's not aware of my moods, he must just be thinking, everything is fine. And then when he comes back to ask for that thing, which has a deadline, and he asks me, have you done it? I'm like, oh, no, I haven't done it. And I'll find an excuse. As a passive aggressive, again, I'll find an excuse to say why I didn't do it. But underneath, it's that hostility that Adrian talked about, where somebody's acting appropriately, but on the surface appropriately, but underneath, the undercurrent is got some other emotions of the aggressive, passive communication style, where they are trying to kind of be hostile, a little bit be manipulative, so that the other person now can submit, because they can't I can't express my emotions, my feelings healthily to that person. So I'm going to use that underhand so that I can cause Adrian now to submit to me, because he knows that he's going to depend on me for certain things. So I'm using that style to make him submit to me, so that he can now probably start pleading with me. So that is one of the other ways that a passive aggressive person's style, passive aggression communication style is a hindrance to the communication that should connect us. So we have to watch out for those things.
Yeah, and another way I think would be, those people that have got a victim mentality, where we feel that the other person owes us something. So, we coming across like when you are in some kind of a conversation and you are trying to talk to them, they claim a victim. Yes. They say they've been victimized, or they feel that they are not being treated well. So their response is because they are a victim of whatever has happened, whatever has been said. They consider themselves to be a victim, and they feel that they have a right to put that across because they're a victim. I mean, if you have been victimized, then you need to defend yourself in a way. So there is a feeling of wanting to defend themselves because they consider themselves to be a victim of whatever has happened. So when I looked at sometimes, we talked about sarcasm, where you instead of giving a compliment, you become sarcastic in a way. You are expressing, you are saying something. I think you gave an example earlier of how that would come across. Did you want to talk about that one, where you want to like give a compliment, and yet you are being like sarcastic? I mean, like someone comes and says, like someone says, "Oh, I like the way you've done your hair." Is that a good example? No.
Even like sometimes maybe where somebody's dressed so nicely, even that's maybe even for friendships, where somebody's dressed up so nicely and you like the dress and you like the style, and then you kind of like say, maybe even husbands, they have done this to wives. They are like, that dress fits you. You look so. Maybe the wife is asking, how do I look? Oh, you look so nice. But then they use something like, it would look nicer, please, on maybe on a skinny person. So it's those comments where you compliment someone, but handed on the front you are complimenting someone, but underhand you are kind of like bringing in something that is going to make the other person not really appreciate your comment, until that person thinks and say, hang on, what did my husband just say here? Then you start thinking and say, oh no, there was something that was connected to that compliment, which is kind of like a sarcasm, coming across like a sarcasm. And also on the person of a passive aggressive communication style, it's all about using emotions to manipulate the person, like we said, or be hostile, or be manipulative. In a way, again, I'll talk about how this person is, because they are keeping scores. In most cases, people are passive and aggressive in communication style. They are keeping scores. So like there will be a day, I'm sure there has been a day when I would hear Adrian say something, or I'll just use an example of, he says that he's gonna go to the gym and he washed his gym attire and he forgets to hang it. He says, oh, maybe he's talking like, oh, I'm rushing. I needed to hang the clothes, but yeah, I need to use them when I come back. Obviously, I would hear that. But if I'm keeping scores as a passive aggressive communicator, what I'm going to do is, I know he needs those clothes, but I'm not going to hang them. I can even pass through the washing machine, and I'll even maybe even to make it more sweeter, because this kind of style is when you're unforgiving. You want to feed on that emotion, which is really damaging even to your spirit and your soul. But we don't realize until we start getting ill. So you pass even through the washing machine. You can even open the washing machine, look at those clothes, and then you just close it and say, it's not my problem. He's going to find it. So we are kind of communicating in a behavior that is damaging, in a behavior that is trying to manipulate the other person. Even when he has to say, oh, didn't you see the clothes? Sometimes people can even lie to say, oh, no, I didn't see. Oh, I was busy. I forgot as well to hang them. So it's those kind of styles that are not healthy. Again, being manipulative in a non-verbal way, behaviors that we are using that are not helping the relationship to flourish in connecting with each other as we communicate.
Yeah. So what's missing in this sort of communication style is there is no genuineness.
Yeah.
There is no genuineness, and I think this one is particularly, well, all of them. I think when it comes to level 1 connection, which we are going to talk about, all the three of them, none of them is the best style of communication. We said at the beginning that there's 4 styles of communication. The first one was passive, then the second was aggressive, and then there is passive aggressive, and the fourth one, for those maybe that haven't been around to get the other ones that we mentioned earlier in the previous videos, the fourth one is assertive style communication. Now, we recommended assertive style communication because this is where one communicates genuinely, honestly, without fear or anything. So we all have needs in our relationships. We all want to communicate our needs, our wants, our opinions, and everything. If we communicate them honestly, the way we are feeling, the way we want them, then we are genuine in the way that we are communicating. Now, the problem with all the three or the other three of them are not the best. So passiveness, like we said, someone caves in, and every so often they are staffing. We said they are staffers. They will staff like a hedgehog. There's coming a time when they can't staff anymore. Whatever they are staffing it. Well, did you say? Yeah. So whatever is going, it fills up, and now it overflows. So they explode because they are keeping everything inside. They're keeping everything inside. They're keeping everything, and then they explode. And then once they explode, it's not a very good place to be. So that's not the best way of communicating with someone, by just taking everything in. The other one is being aggressive, being very forceful and putting your foot forward. And yes, you get your needs met and you get everything done, but at the end of it all, there'll be no connection, and you probably lose the person. Now, we've got a comment there. Did you want to say something about the comment?
It's saying, surely if they are assuming the other person is going to say no, and the answer comes back no, what is the recipient person, what to do to Kevin? I think with this passive aggressive person, actually what they do is they actually, instead of saying no, instead of saying yes, they do the opposite. Say like they know they really actually want to go for a movie, or they want to go out with their partner, their spouse. Then they are trying to manipulate because there's something which is working underhand. So when the person asks and they say, no, I don't want to go, they are thinking in their minds, they are actually assuming that even the other person, or Adrian, let me just use us. I'm thinking Adrian doesn't want also to go. So I say, no, I don't want to go. Then Adrian decides to go. And so they become mad because Adrian has gone. Because they were not truthful. They were not saying what they wanted, the needs. They didn't want to say, yes, they want to go. So they use the opposite. They are not truthful. They kind of mask. Instead of saying yes, they say no. Instead of saying no, they say yes. In a way, it's just to manipulate the other person. So this, again, is not the way that we should communicate. And there could be so many reasons why all these things happen. And that's why we are trying to actually organize another person. We are trying to invite one of the people that have been following us to come and dig deeper and say, what are some of the filters? What are some of the background experiences? Or what are some of the issues that cause us in a relationship, which should be so vulnerable, which should be so free for us to communicate? Why is it that we find ourselves so tight in a corner that we can easily lie? Instead of just saying yes, we say no. Instead of just saying that I can't do it, we kind of like pretend like we are going to do it and we don't do it. And yet we are just hurting each other. We forget what the Bible says, that we are one body, we are one flesh. If Adrian is hurting, then I'm also hurting. If I am hurting, then Adrian is also hurting. We forget all those principles. Somehow, what really comes in the mix, that we become that complacent, that we become that selfish, and we forget to be patient, we forget to be kind, as love is, which hangs on these two pillars. So we are going to try and bring in somebody before we go into the level 1 communication, which should make us connect instead of the blame and the criticism. We should aim to connect even beyond the differences in opinion, the differences in understanding. We should aim to communicate and connect.
Yeah. So I think the challenge for all of us, is to try and let me just read that one before I make the comment. So assertive is healthy. This is the one that we just talked about. We must overcome fear and speak the truth in love. I think that's the point I was trying to make, that when we all the 3 levels of communication are challenging, apart from the assertive one. They are all challenging. So the challenge for us that are, having a conversation about this, that are trying to, educate one another about these sorts of things, is that we have to try and overcome them. You know, like it's been said, that's a challenge. So like at the beginning, I started by saying, I was asking myself, what's the point of talking about all these things? You know, the point is, if I know that this is how I need to be talking to her, then I will be conscious of the way I am talking to her. So that's the first bit. So I am conscious. So every time I start going there, because every so often we go there, I catch myself. Now, I would say that I am blessed, she's blessed, we are blessed because we are talking about these things. So both of us are actually involved in this, and we are challenging one another. Now, there might be someone who is actually really interested in this, and they're learning, they're catching this, but then their spouse is not involved, and they are not part of this conversation, or they are not really taking interest in learning all these sorts of things and knowing how this can be done. So the challenge is, okay, yeah, I have learned, I know what I need to do, but then he doesn't know, or she doesn't know. So the challenge is for us now, when we know that this is how I need to communicate to him or to her, is to try and communicate in a style that is going to be helpful, a style that's going to help us connect. And also to be aware when the other person now communicates in a style that's not very helpful, to try and say, well, in a nice and like when the example that she gave, in a nice and gentle way, and say, well, if we talk to each other like this, we won't be able to be, this won't be very helpful. Because this is how I feel when we talk to each other like this. So using words like that, and trying to put the blame or trying to criticize is not very helpful. So in a way, we begin to put it gently, nicely across to the other person, saying, this is how we need to communicate if we are going to have a healthy communication. So that's the point of us talking about these sorts of things, because they are going to help us eventually to know how we need to carry ourselves, to know how we need to communicate, to know how we need to correct a situation when someone comes and behaves a certain way. Like I think the example that was given, whereby your spouse, you assume they will say no, and they actually say no. So what do? Do you just ignore, walk away, or do you do something about it? So something has got to be done about it. So what we are saying, in a relationship, we don't leave any stone unturned. So we turn all the stones, but we need to know how to turn the stones.
I like that. Yes. This is so excellent. This is good.
Yeah, so we've got another comment there before we move on. So aggression can make us cave in easily, but there is a reason why the person comes with aggression. Agreed. Aggressive persons are really insecure. Don't be intimidated by aggression. Let's help each other to have truth and grace in balance, and realize we are not enemies. I think that really summarizes the point that we are trying to make, that if we are in a relationship, we are in it together. You made the point that if I lose, you lose. So if one spouse loses, both spouses lose. If one spouse is not communicating properly, the other spouse that knows how to communicate properly will still not be able to get through, because communication has got both the communicator and the listener. So if you send some message and it doesn't land, then you don't get the result that you want to get and that you want to see. So that's the whole point. So even as we, I think, almost wrap up this part of the style of communication, we need to just remind ourselves that when we are talking, and for those maybe that listening, both maybe husband and wife, and those that maybe might listen to this recording, it's always helpful to just have a chat around that, so that even when you remind yourselves, because when we began talking about, talking about these things and reminding ourselves about these things, when one of us goes in a completely different direction, when we remind them, then they know that, yes, this is it. This is not the right way. This is not the way to communicate. We need to do better. So that's the benefit of making it that way. Did you want to say something?
No, it's just a conversation start again for those that didn't join us from the beginning. It's a different one though from the people that joined us. Maybe just as you go, we just want to pose this question: which of you tends to be more aggressive in solving problems, and why is that so? Which of you tends to be more aggressive in solving problems, and why is that so? This is not a healthy communication style, being aggressive. We want to get to assertive. But which of you tends to, like Adrian says, unless we know where the problem is, unless we know how we communicate, we are not going to turn the stones back on. When we turn them off, we check, and then we turn them back on until we know how we are communicating. So thank you so much for joining us. We are blessed that you've shared with us, and thank you for the comments. We are just praying to God that the God who is a good shepherd will continue shepherding our marriages, that the Lord our God will cover each and every marriage that is represented here, and everyone in a relationship and those intending to be in a relationship, to have healthy minds and a healthy heart. Because it starts with a healthy mind and a healthy heart, that we are going to be able to be kind, to be patient, to have the joy, to have the peace, that even when we are communicating with one another, we are going to be seasoned communicators, people that are going to be adding to the relationship and not subtracting. So thank you so much. May the Lord our God just cause his face to shine upon you and give you peace and shalom. You've been brilliant. God bless you. Thank you. So next week,
did you want to? I was just going to say, because I thought you were going to forget that bit. So next week we are not meeting on Facebook, but instead we are meeting on Zoom. Now this is going to be a private meeting, but it's going to be an awesome meeting, I must say.
Yes, true.
I think let me use the 21st century kind of language, if you can just permit me. The vibe that I'm getting.
Yes, true.
I don't normally use those words unless I'm talking to my kids. Normally we talk like that, but yeah. So the vibe that I am getting is that there is a lot of excitement about this meeting, because we've got really excellent guests that are coming to join us. There will be so many special things that are going to be taking place, and so the invitation is out there. We haven't put the details in public yet, but obviously we have started mentioning it. We are just finalizing some administrative issues, and then we will be putting it out. But next week we meet on Zoom. The details will be out very, very soon. Please don't miss. If you are able to invite someone, please do. And I think one key thing that maybe we might need to mention, there will be
renewal of
vows.
Yes. So if anyone is interested in renewing the vows, you can get in touch with us. You can message us, but most of the people on the chat, we have them on the WhatsApp groups, some of it. But do let us know if you'd want to renew your vows. It will be exciting, and it will mean a lot, especially after having gone through the valley of the shadow of death and then coming out. When you say I do, it won't seem like you are thinking like, do I? It will mean I do. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you on Zoom.
Yeah,
God bless you.
To see you, and it will be from 6 to 8:30 UK time. It will be different in different locations, and obviously we are expecting people from different locations. So just work out what your time is in relation to the UK time. So it will be 6
On a
to
Friday.
8:30 p.m. UK, which is BST, British Summer Time. And it will be on Friday next week. So Friday next week, the 4th of June, we will be in Zoom. And we hope to see you and looking forward to it. So God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.